Close your eyes and rest your hands on your knees. Bring your attention to the touch of your body on your seat. Feel the weight of your body on your chair or cushion. Make sure that your back is straight and that you're comfortable. Take a few deep breaths. While you're breathing deeply, relax your shoulders, your stomach muscles, the muscles in your face, your hands, and your legs. Let go of all the tightness in your body. Now bring your attention back to your breath. Notice what it feels like as it enters through your nose, goes down through your throat, filling your lungs, and back out through your nose. Notice your stomach and chest rise and fall each time you breathe in and each time you breathe out. And just allow your breathing to be natural and relaxed. Now bring your attention to the feeling of your breath in your nose. Feel your breath as it comes in and goes out. Just focus on this sensation, paying attention to each time you breathe in and each time you breathe out. When you inhale, maybe your breath feels full. And as you exhale, maybe it feels a little warmer. When your mind wanders, or if you become distracted, just notice what's going on in your head, and then gently bring your attention back to your breath, going in and out. Focus on the feeling of your breath and allow thoughts and feelings to come and go in the background. Now gently bring your attention back to the touch of your body on your seat and open your eyes.
That felt good. My lab is not working very well. So anyway, as I said, one of the reasons that brought me to doing reflection tonight is not only that it's the new year has started, but this is my reflection. One of my clients called me from a year and a half ago. This woman called me and she said, oh, I saw you on Facebook, of course. And she said, I was just wondering, if you can help my husband and I. We have issues, in our marriage. So I said, sure. But are we able to do it both of you? Because I like to have both parties there when I'm doing consultation with couples. So she did get her husband on and she said, oh, she's single. What can she do for us? In my mind, I felt a little offended because as you know, if you went to a male gynecologist, and that's what I said to her, I said, if you went to a doctor and he doesn't have children, do you say, oh, you don't have children, you can't operate on me, or you can't touch me, you can't deliver my child because you don't know what it feels like, to give birth? And he's like, but anyway, she hasn't been married. She can't teach us nothing. And, they were going back and forth while I'm listening. So finally, I had said to her, because she's babbling on all the things he did wrong, and he's kind of silent, focusing on what I cannot do. So in the end, I said to her, well, what have you done to contribute to your relationship in the state in which is it right now? So that redirect the husband focus on her, and he's like, "Oh yeah, she's right. Yeah, you tell her what you did." And so they were still going back and forth. Right? So then afterwards, he decided. They actually both of them decide, "Oh, I don't want to talk to you anymore." So they called me back a week later, and he was interested. Um, so he said, "You know what? I think we'll give you a try." And so we went through the process, and he's like, "I'm not sure, but the thing is, my reflection is that." For him to call me back and say, you know what, I was just thinking, and now that's, thanking me because their relationship have moved to the point where they was fighting all the time, lack of communication, blaming each other for whatever was going on in the relationship. So it made me happy to see that after going through all of this, that I was able to take them out from being, I want to say, in the verge of separation to the point where they became a unit again. And these couple was very well into their 60s. So that's my reflection for tonight. So the thing is, though we're not, for me, not married, I am trained to do my job. It's a nurse. She's trained to do her job. A doctor, we all are trained. So if we acquire the knowledge that we need, we can do a job without having the personal experience. Anybody else wants to share their reflection before we move on? Well, first of all, introduce yourselves for those who don't know. There's some of you in here that don't know each other or are here for the first time. So, Miss Carmen, could you introduce yourself? I'm going to basically go in order.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm joining Beverly on this journey. And, it's nice to talk about things that people really don't like to talk about. And even me, I'm friendly without being overly friendly. I I reflect a lot on life, on my role as a human being, as a mother, as a wife, as a friend. I do that a lot, thinking about how I could be a better friend, how I could be a better mom, and how I could be better to myself. I think that is my reflection now that I am, in the process. My kids are grown, they're living their lives, they're able to take care of themselves. And so now I'm in the reflection zone on what do I want to do with the rest of my life, you know? Where do I want to travel to? Um, because I'm reflecting forward that when I die, I want it to be written on my tombstone. She was happy. And how I'm getting there is what I'm thinking about, what I'm planning, and getting ready, reflecting on or say foreshadowing how I will be happy because I'm looking forward to it. Not to say that I'm not happy now, but I want to live, not just exist.
Thank you for sharing. Eric Perryman, introduce yourself and just give us a little reflection, something that you
Uh,
reflected on.
well, my name is Eric Perryman. Um, in terms of reflections, what are reflecting on the day or like,
Just your past, something that experience that you had, the past 2 years has been a journey for most of us or all of us in one way or another. So maybe something that take you from then to now or some difficulties or hurdle that you overcome during the past 2 years.
um, well, I guess the only thing that comes to mind is just making better business decisions. That's about it. Um, a couple of things I think I probably rushed into instead of uh, having more due diligence with planning it out. So in the future, just be more methodical in looking through things instead of rushing through an idea just because it sounds good.
Okay, okay, thank you. Where's Michael? Did he disappear?
No, I'm here.
Oh, he's here.
No,
Good evening.
the other, good afternoon, Mr. Husbands. The other Michael, he disappeared.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No, he's
Okay,
here.
no, I don't see him though. Is my screen?
He has his headphones on. He's here.
Okay. Michael, can you hear me? Oh, here he is. Uh, I can't hear you. I don't think we can hear you with the earphones on.
Bev, I sent him a message.
Okay, okay. Hi guys, those of us who join in live, we are talking about reflection. So if there's something that you want to reflect on, you can text it to me or put it in the comments. Okay, thank you. Okay, Michael, we can't hear you. So, Mr. Husbands,
Yes, I'm here. Good evening.
okay, thank you. Until Michael Royce to get doing. Okay, so Mr. Husbands,
Yes, I'm here.
okay, so can you like introduce yourself and just tell us something that you're reflecting on.
Just one moment, please. My name is Michael Husbands. Um, I was born and raised in Barbados, and I migrated to United States in 1975. And I am a practicing accountant as my profession. And I would say if there's any reflection, it would be kind of some of the relationships that I have or have had, and where I am looking to take my life going forward from this moment onward. Reflections is, in a sense, what I have accomplished and what may be opportunities or options that I've left on the table and chose not to follow, and not living in regret, because to me that doesn't make much sense, because you can't change the past, but learn from it and move forward and see what it is that I can do to make my life better and those who I interact with leave a lasting footprint to some degree on their lives. And how can I accomplish that? And so
Thank,
that's what I reflect on. How do I evolve my spiritual life, my personal life, and my financial well-being? How can I help others going forward that I interact with? Those are things that I look to focus on.
okay, thank you for sharing. Michael Royce, can you hear now? Mhm. Okay. Sean, would you like to introduce
Sure.
yourself?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Shauna Wiggum Peoples. I am an educator by day. I work with children and elementary level. And I'm also a sexuality, health, and wellness coach.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mainly
All right. Thanks. Bye.
I really help men, women, and couples have healthy, intimate relationships. You know, when people talk about intimacy or they hear that word, they immediately think about sex. And I kind of share and help people to get around the complete intimacy of the emotional and the mental and the spiritual, as well as the physical. So just tapping into all levels of intimacy. And my reflection is around the last 2 years would be time is short. You know, I've noticed that so much has happened, so many lives lost, loved ones lost. And now that my children are grown and we're empty nesters, it's time to focus on what makes Shauna happy. So in turn, I am helping others find the happiness that I have found and that I'm finding. So I'm excited for what's new in 2022.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Eva, your turn. You're muted. You're muted.
Good evening, everyone. Say Eva, but I call myself Eva P. I'm happy to be here. This is one of my first, I guess you can say, formal in time being here online with everyone. So in terms of expressing who I am and what I do, okay, I'm a little shy right now about all of that because this is my first time having to go through
Don't
all of that.
worry. I'm still there.
But I'm still there. Okay, well, basically, I retired in law enforcement. I do ministry. I do various other things. I am excited to be on this platform. I think this is a great idea so that people can express themselves. And as you guys were saying earlier, some conversations that people are afraid to have. I believe that conversation is needed today when we have so many hurting people for various reasons. In terms of reflection, as Ms. Bingham said, there's been a lot of loss. I experienced a lot of them personally myself. So I think that anytime you get a platform where you can talk to people and feel free to speak and express yourself, I think is a positive thing. So I'm happy to be here tonight.
Thank
That's all
you
I'd
for
like to share.
sharing. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you for
Steve,
inviting me.
you're welcome. Steve, we can't hear you. Steve, you're muted. Okay, Steve, I'm going to come back to you.
Oh,
Mr.
he's
Jim
here now.
Jackson.
He's
Oh,
here
you can
now,
hear him
Bev.
now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, hold on. I can't hear him.
Bev, don't worry. I'll message him. Go ahead.
Oh,
Continue.
okay. Okay, Mr. Jackson, you want to share with us? We're doing reflection. Introduce yourself and just, something that you reflect on.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Could Carmen hear me? Looking at Carmen, okay. And of course, Brother Eric, I gotta get him to smile. Eric has a stern face, there he goes. All right, my man.
Eric, see, I'm smiling for both of us.
I like to see Eric smile because Eric's got a good head on his shoulders. Second time here. And always enjoy being with my people. And always enjoying discussing the many things that keep us together. Aside from being apart, I'd rather focus on keeping us together. because it's so important today. So that's what I'm all about, um, keeping us together. Um, if we display any differences that we have, that's minute. We need to encourage each other to stay strong and accentuate the positive. So that's me. Thank you.
What's something that you reflect on for the past 2 years that comes to mind in 2022?
What? Well, um, uh, not even talking about the pandemic because we all know about that. But whether we have that or not, we need to recognize our oneness um, among each other. I'm a revolutionary, so you know, um, we need to understand where we, in order to understand where we're going, we got to understand where we came from. And so when we learn that and keep on that, and don't let anybody tell you different, we'll get to our success. Because a lot of us kind of forget or we don't know. So it's for people like me and possibly you to always open that door for people to understand something more than what they know. So we'll leave it like that for now.
Thank you for sharing. Michael Royster.
Hi.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Yes. Well,
So your reflection.
yes. Well, I would say as always wanting to do more than I was doing as far as being in the trades. I was always helping others, fixing things. I like the challenge of trying to figure something out and do it and bring a resolution. And if I can't fix it, then it needs to be replaced. So as I talk to a lot of other men and women in the business, they used to say, well, what else can you do? What else can we do? And my mother used to say that. Always try to do more. You can't do it all, but try. And if you need help, you ask. So that coming from my 20s, 30s, 40s, now my 50s, when I was doing certain things in the field, there was another guy kept looking at me as I was explaining things and how we just started connecting. We had that vibration of what can we do to help others who don't see that they can do it. You run across people who say what they can't do. And then I was telling him at some point when I retire, maybe in my 60s, I'd like to give back and help other people that are not as fortunate, not knowing that came to the point that he was saying, you probably can be an instructor or, get in the field when you retire, the way I was talking. So I reflect on that because there were people who have helped me and guided me when I wasn't around my blood family per se, people who were looking out saying, you better watch it, you better do this. I'm gonna tell your mother, tell your grandmother, stuff like that. So it's those certain men, women, young people as I was growing up, I would like to thank them if I can see them because I could have went that way because of the neighborhood and I was at and kind of trying to fit in. So therefore, he said, you ain't gotta wait till you retire. Find a time, what you do. And that led me to being an instructor in electrical trades, and I enjoy it. And then I look at that as giving back. And it's not about the money. The money is good, but it's helping those people. And it's just happened to deal with heavy recidivism from the prison system in the area. And then now I'm on the other side looking at the students. These are young adults. And I see this something ain't quite right. And it's more than that. And then it seems like I kind of become a counselor because it's more than just teaching them the electrical trade, some HVAC, but mainly the electrical trade. And that make me feel good. So now I want to do more. I want to do better and find a way to get my own licenses and then go out to continue to help those, because it's something about where I came from, which in these certain type of neighborhoods, and I found a way and I enjoy what I do. And I want to continue to speak that. I want to continue to walk it and send that vibration out as I speak now.
All right, thanks for sharing. Steve, can you hear us now?
Mm.
Maybe if you log off and come back on.
I'll inbox him, Bev.
Okay. You know, as you were saying, Mike, that's one of the things about when we're doing things and we see positive results, it pushes us, makes us want to do more. You know, it gives us that sense of accomplishment, and we just want to be able to do more
Yeah,
and help others along the way.
correct.
Okay, where's Steve? Okay, so okay, we'll wait till Steve come back on. But you know, some of the reason why, I mean, I look at like tonight is reflection and goals, and I look at them as interchangeable because to accomplish your goals, you have to have reflection, you know? So some of the reason why we reflect is that it's an opportunity for us to learn. Then it give us ideas. I know for me, sometimes I'm in a deep sleep and a thought just come to mind, and I keep my phone close by so that I don't have to write. I used to have a pencil, but now I see I can talk. I just say whatever that come to mind. So when I get up in the morning, then I'm able to write it and translate it. So that's one of the things that, you know, give us great ideas. The other thing is while we're reflecting and we see, you know, from day to day, it helps us to help others, like Mike was just saying. And the other thing is, it definitely makes us happy because we are seeing then and now, you know, and it gives us the opportunity to put things in perspective. Is Steve? Oh, Steve's not on it. Okay. And actually, guys, I wasn't able to do live on Facebook because I'm always in Facebook jailhouse. Facebook just don't like me and Carmen. Okay, recently they deleted my page, got rid of all my information, and now for some reason I can't go live on there, but that don't stop my show. So, and that's the other thing that I always say. Facebook is a perfect example of when you're in a man's house, he gets the right to kick you out, right? So for those
Unfortunately.
of us here who have businesses, I always encourage you, get your website. So that way you can, like from now on, that's my second lesson from Facebook. I'm posted in my group so you can go to my website.
Sure.
Okay, so we have to position ourselves for when those things happen. I have acquaintances on Facebook that has a large following. When Facebook ready, they delete your page. You lose all your contacts, you know? So you have to, whether it's people that you just appreciate on there, and you want to keep in touch with them, you know, you find a way outside of Facebook to keep that communication going.
Right.
Okay, Steve, you ready?
Yes, hello, good night.
Wait. Before Steve go, JJ, you have a nice kitchen. You just got that kitchen done?
See, you made Eric smile. See, now you're getting that smile from Eric.
Yeah, who said I had a nice kitchen? Who said that?
The person
Eric,
you said that you need to smile, have smile.
Michael or who said Mike?
No,
no,
Eric.
No,
Eric said that.
Eric said
Eric, you even
Unbelievable, right?
you even made him smile.
that?
Okay, I'm sorry, Steve.
Hey, hello, good night.
Good
Yeah, I had
night.
to switch from the laptop to my phone because I don't know some things going on with that, so I had to close it down. Anyway, my name is Steve Bob, and I'm originally from Barbados. I moved to New York 23 years next 2 months, and while I
Mm,
was there, and the kids went to college, so me and my wife we had like an empty nest, and we decided to foster some kids. And
great.
long story, I ended up adopting it of right now.
Wow.
So
Congratulations.
thanks. So
Nice.
I have no regrets right now. Everything is going the way I expect to go. So I'm good for right now.
Good.
Nice.
Awesome. Awesomeness. Okay, so all right, so we're back into thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Okay, is anybody else on? Okay, so some of the ways is how to make your reflection, because I believe that same like we set goals, we have to reflect on our day-to-day life. So how do we make our reflection a daily ritual? Okay. For me, I would say to make a journal. I know a lot of people say I don't like to write, I can't write, I don't know what to write. But I think that if you start with a word, right? So what are some of the words that are important to you? Like for me, my biggest thing is integrity. When that's one of the major things that I look for in people. How do you carry yourself? What are the things that are important to you? So that tells a lot about the character, right? And from that, we can pick out words. Like, for example, Mr. Husbands, when I wrote on your page on that side, that was one of the things that I wrote, integrity. So we could always use descriptive words. The second thing that I said is to do it every single day with no exceptions. And Shauna, you see that with the accountability group that we were doing. We saw the accountability group. We started for like what, 10 people? They had all kinds of excuses like, okay, can't you just, I was doing it daily. Every morning I'll post the assignment that I wanted them to do. Then they'll say, well, can't you post the assignment from the whole week? No, I'm not posting this. If we're doing it's daily accountability. So every day we're going to post something that we're going to do. If I post it for the whole week, then you're not really doing the work. You're doing it all at once, or they want to post it. I do it at night, everything at once, and every day I just post it. But if I tell you to go live today, I don't want you to post something that you went live with Monday or Tuesday. So eventually they couldn't keep up. So there was no consistency. And when we reflect and we make commitment to doing something, there have to be consistency. The other thing is meditation or exercise because we could reflect while we're doing those things. The third thing is I think about is reflect on your day, your work, and your life. And to me, in that order, because from if I reflect on what I did yesterday, I'm thinking about what worked and what didn't work. And I don't like to think of what didn't work as being fail or being a failure, because if we didn't fail, we wouldn't have experiences. So, and then the next thing I say is to look at your work. Most of us get up and we go to work every day to a job that we hate,
Mm.
right? So are we doing something that makes us happy? Are we doing something that at the end of the day we can say, well, I am doing something productive. I'm seeing the results of what I do, right? And lastly, your life. You look over your life. How is my life going? Is these things that I'm doing is bettering my life? With the job, I'm just getting a paycheck, right? Like, I know me and Carmen had a conversation, and she says, "Look, I don't want to do XYZ anymore, so I have to find a way out of that because it's no longer satisfying to me." Right? And then finally, when you look back at every aspect, we figure out how can I change the things that I'm doing that is no longer serves me. And most of the time, that if we decide that we want to change, not saying that it's a struggle or it's difficult, but it can be done. We just have to have that mindset of change. Okay. So anybody want to add to that? Something that worked for them that they can share?
Come on, Eric.
Eric, you've been picked on tonight. Come on, Eric.
Um,
And smile.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was about to say. Well, I guess for the most part, if you work for other people, you'll never attain the happiness that you're looking for because you're never going to get the results that you're looking for because it's not based on like your goals, it's based on somebody else's goals. Um, for example, being a teacher, I'm never going to get fulfillment out of being a teacher because for the most part, after a student sees you for what is it like 10 months out a year, and then like I have high school students, so their upbringing for the most part has already destroyed their lives based on the things that they've seen done, their parents, environment, all these other different things. So by the time they get to being like a junior, senior in high school, what you want for those students and the improvements that you want to see, for the most part, it's never going to happen because you only have a limited amount of time um, to be with that student. And because you deal with so many students, you can't really focus in on, what's needed for those students in order to grow and develop. So that's why at the end of the day, I guess like a lot of teachers getting burnt out because it's just like, all right, when you first come in, you have all the enthusiasm in the world, but then like after years and years of just seeing mediocrity after mediocrity every year, just like, all right, I need something new in order to keep my mindset like positive because in being in teaching, like you see just so much negativity, not even just from students, but also from like administrators, um, parents. So you got to just be like, you need to find something else at the end of the day in order to keep your sanity. Because if you just focus just on the job, then you're gonna, drive yourself crazy.
As you talking about that, and that's kind of applied. I mean, it's two sides to it. Us as educator, Carmen, and those of us who on here are a little older than you are, Eric. And our upbringing was different. I saw somebody posted this and I thought it was rather interesting. He says, I heard someone say kids are different these days. And it says, I disagree. Kids are the same. What has changed is society with the lower expectation and lack of discipline, acceptance, and disrespect. Give kids boundaries, expectation, rules, limits, reward, and consequences, and they will rise above the challenge and exceed expectation every time.
Yeah, if I can chime in on that, I work around elementary, K through
Okay.
6. And so I understand exactly what Eric is saying on a high school level, but it's even starting at the grade school level. And where they say it starts at home, it does. And certain people are put into places to make a difference where they are. So I came from corporate America for 19 plus years and transitioned to education. So the last 6 years, I think I have made a difference in the kids' lives that I have come into contact with, because that's why I'm there, to make a difference. I do enjoy what I do because it's definitely not for the money. But what I pour into the children, whether it's a smile, now with the mask on, they can't see my smile, but my cheeks go up so they know I'm smiling, but they look for that because they don't get that, and they're not used to that at home. So just whatever space you're in, especially when it's involving the kids, because the world is bringing them all the negativity through the music and the social media and everything that they have access to, and they don't have those parents like we did, making sure, or the neighbor looking out for the kids, or they're watching themselves. And if you get 1 minute to impact the child's life, use it. Maybe it's something that you say or do. They see you, how you act or interact with others. They'll remember it because they're not used to seeing that anyway.
Correct.
That's something different for them. So that's how I look at it on a daily. Just what can I do to help? I ask for the light to shine through me in whatever way that is, to help someone else.
Right, that makes sense. I know I had a discussion with someone earlier this week, and I said that parents needs to be held accountable for their children. And they went on to this long thing like, no, because the system did this and the system did that, the white man did that, and the white man did that, and we can't do this. While there is truth to this, however, there are things that we can do. I see people say they can't control a 5, 6 year old. How do you not control a 5 year old or 6 year old? The thing is, you let them get out of control, and then when you try to take that control back, it's too long. You waited too long. You play around with them for too long. But regardless of what they say to the system, and what I said to them is, the system don't claim my kids. I'm going to take care of them, because if I don't, the system will for me, and I'll be darned if I allow them to. Okay. So when I say there should be consequences for your kids, for example, when I see kids bully other people's children, like, I know it would just do something to me mentally, because I send my kids to school just like you send your kids to school. Who gives another kid the right to bully or hit my child? So I believe that there should be some type of consequences in place for the parents. Just like if we correct our kids, there's supposedly consequence for us, then let's deal with the parents that cannot control their kids. Because I remember this friend of mine's, and it only works for certain people because they push for it. We as people of color, we fight for the wrong things. you know so that's just the way I feel. Like, parents need to be held accountable. They need to be held accountable one some way or another, and we just cannot, because I watch too many little kids. Even at my job, I see some of the parents have to run home because this is happening to their kids at school. Why? Just This can't happen. We just have to, and the other thing is they're using excuses of young parents. We understand all of that. But if we keep continuously making excuses, nothing will change. The cycle is going to keep repeating over and over. So when do we take back control or being parents to our children?
I see, you're right. And I see Shauna
Yes.
and I see Eric going, yep, they deal with the kids every day. School teacher. And then she said she came from corporate to public school. Man, I had to shake my head at that. I'm not even going into that. That's a lot. Go from that to that. But to deal with the kids today, what you said, Spice Island Queen, I agree with. Parents have to be. Somebody has to be held accountable. Somebody has to be held accountable. We are responsible for ourselves. So we have to be responsible for ourselves. And then if we have offspring, which most of us do, that's ours. That's our blood. That's our DNA. We have to be responsible for that. Goes to my mouth.
Sir, can I say something? My nephew, he's 24 now, but when he was 21, he had a post on Facebook, just posted it, and he said, adults are always complaining about children. But the question is, did you guys forget who raised them? So and that's why I don't get into the habit of bashing children, and I usually get into like my friends, when they call me complaining about their children, I always ask, so what part did you play in that? Where were you?
Yeah.
What did you do?
Yeah.
Because we're busy blaming the kids, right?
Yeah.
But I do that a lot. As I say, I'm always reflecting on my relationship with my children, what I did or didn't do. And because there's two perceptions, right? Two perspectives. There's me thinking I'm a great mother, and then there's my children probably if I read their journal, it'll be a different story, right? The point is, we are raising these children. We everything they're going through, we did it to them. And that's what we as adults, instead of pointing the finger, we need to reflect on what we did or what we failed to do, right? The children are a reflection of their families and their parents, and children live what they learn, not only today, yesterday, last year, when I was growing up, long after I'm dead. Children live what they learn. And if we want our children to be different, we need to be different.
Correct. I'm laughing, Carmen, because those are what I tell when I have my clients, couples. That's the emotion I go through. Them. What did you do? What part did you play? And right, Shona, you could identify with that because they're always busy blaming. You have to have done something to get that reaction, or didn't do something to get that reaction. So, like they say, for every action is a reaction. So your non-action brings a reaction. Your action brings an reaction, So no matter what. So can we discuss it, right?
Right.
In
And
an
we need to
adult
reflect it.
manner.
We need to
Yeah.
reflect on it, and we need to own it. Stop passing
Right.
it like if it's some alien over there that did this job. We did this job, right?
Correct. Yes.
And stop blaming the children. It's almost like blaming the victim, right? We have victimized our children. We have allowed our families to victimize our children. We have allowed society to victimize our children. And we're just sitting here, oh, they're not behaving. Like when I meet young men, my sister always said to me, one day, those boys are gonna curse you out. I always go up to the young men with their pants behind their leg. And I'm like, young man, and I don't say boy because that's an insult. That's like
Correct.
the massa way of putting down our boys. So, and men. So I always go up and I say, young man, I can see your boxers. It's yellow, it's green, or it's blue. I said, and it's kind of offensive to me. Do you mind pulling up your pants? Do you even know why you do that? And to start the process of thinking, right? And we could blame them all we want, but didn't their father do it? Aren't the rappers old enough to be their granddaddy like P. Diddy still doing it? So how do we blame the children? We need to reflect on that.
Right, right. Because the thing is, this generation is not like us, where our parents would say, do as I say, not as I do. Because today we have to have conversation with our children. We cannot be a dictator to them.
Can't
And
be
when we,
dictators, but we
Nah,
can't be
but no.
friends. We
No.
can't be
This group of
friends
children.
either.
okay,
I'm sorry. You know,
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
the younger people, the younger generation, they're friends with their kids. You know, they're trying to be friends rather than parents. So
correct.
they don't establish the boundaries of authority. You know, you don't
Correct.
have to be a dictator to make your child listen and follow instructions and do what you tell them to do. But when you have no consequences for their actions, then that's the problem. You know, choices equal consequences. If you have no consequences, why would you change? Why would you think that there's something wrong with what you're doing when you do it, nothing happens? You know, I'm not going to get in trouble. You know, it's funny, it's cute. You know, we make a TikTok about it. You know, it's just crazy with the generation. So that's where the village comes in. You know,
Well, I don't know about this village thing now because social media has just swallowed them up, you know?
Mhm.
Eric,
Eric
you
has
was gonna say
something to say,
something.
Bev.
Mhm.
No, what I was gonna say is just a couple of things. First thing is that this generation of children are not being raised by people; they're being raised by technology, which is the first issue. Because at any moment you can see people crossing the street and they're in their cell phones or listening to music, not even aware of their surroundings. Um, even when children are in the house, even adults when they're in the house, the adults are on their cell phones, the children are on their tablets, and there's really no communication. The second thing is that also in our society now, you can't tell the difference between a 15-year-old, a 21-year-old, a 25-year-old, a 30-year-old, a 35-year-old, a 40-year-old, and a 45-year-old because they're all doing the same things for the most part. Like Shauna just mentioned TikTok. Like you would be amazed with how many people are all doing the same thing. It's like 15-year-olds are doing the latest dance, or 45-year-olds. It's like, who's the adult here? So, it's the blind leading the blind. So you can't get mad at young people for following trends because the adults are doing the same thing. Matter of fact, and most of the time, it's the adults that's pushing them into the trends.
Correct, correct,
That
correct.
reminds me of, as I've spoken about this broken home that I come from and the neighborhood and all that. And thank God that I didn't, even though I was in that environment, I didn't stay that way. And there was a lot of people that that's in that environment that continue to talk to you. So when whoever we are, say, well, when I do better, or when I succeed, I'm going to leave and so on. So I don't have that. So therefore, as I said, there were people when I was on the basketball court or playing. At least we did go out and play. But there was some dirt going on the other side of bleachers, on the other side of the field, but we still play football. We still play basketball, maybe some baseball. We get together. So the broken home is unfortunately a lot of us, like me, my brothers and sister, raised by my mother. But to the point, at least so far, we all still doing good, thankfully. And this accountability that someone brought up. And then, as I have mentioned, that I have gotten to being an instructor in electrical trades, I come from these rugged, tough, so-called guys that upon them doing good coming out of the prison system, they can take a trade. So you can take electrical, carpentry, HVAC, or plumbing. That's what we offer in Jersey City and East Orange, where I teach. The thing is a lot of these males that I'm calling men, they don't have direction. They don't have guidance, whether it's the spiritual or whether it's mental, whether it's physical, because somewhere something missing as the male, as I taught in my case, but I had enough of the basics in my younger years, and my father eventually moved on. He was around, but he wasn't around. But it was enough. So I try to bring that to these young men, and they ain't all young, some of them 30 and 40s, and they got, I guess, good behavior and so on. And it's like at a certain point, I have to talk to them because I think they misguide certain type of guys. Like, I got to look different than them. So they would like us to dress at least in a tie, shirt, some slack shoes, because some of these guys, 30 and 40, do look like 7 to 20-year-olds with the pants ain't all that. And then I have to let them know, you got to change that. And then now I have to change this, I guess, nice way. And I had to challenge some of them in a way I know I shouldn't, but they became a little disrespectful with my character, my easygoing way. And I had to say that I get out at 10 o'clock. Meet me after class. And they changed up a little bit because I came in a different way with all this easy talking, and you coming in late and talking over me talking, and you can't do that. So yeah, it starts somewhere, that being held accountable, and we have to reach them at a young age, hopefully, before they get to that.
Correct. You're absolutely correct. Roxy, how are you? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm wonderful.
Thank you. Would you like to introduce yourself and give us a little reflection, something that you reflect on? I don't want to put
My
you on the
name
spot.
It's okay. My name is Roxy Jackson, and I'm out of Bloomfield, New Jersey. By trade, I'm a therapist and I'm a business owner. I was invited by Michael Royster, who is a lifelong friend, lifelong friend. And I thank him for inviting me.
Okay.
And I like to listen to the different points of view. Hearing it from this perspective versus that perspective, and drawing your own conclusion on the situation. So thank you again for having me.
Okay, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you. So, we always talk about, we all know what the problem is. I was also having a conversation, earlier in one of my pastor friends, and, we were talking about the male father not being in the house. And, for us single women, we always be looked down upon and be judgmental against us. However, we were saying, I know quite a few families that the kids have mother and father in the house, and their kids are total disaster. So can you really judge by that? Or is it the upbringing that you instill in your children at an early age that influence the way they become. The other thing is, that she mentioned, okay, yes, the father is absent in the house, the kids with the mother, but when you really think about it, the mother is also absent because daddy's not giving a dime. And if he gives you $200 or whatever, if it's that much, he wants to know what you're going to do with it. You're going to spend it on yourself, but I gave it to you for the child. I don't want you spending the money on yourself or going out, right? But then, because she does not have that additional income, what does the mother do? She picks up a second job. So the child is at home by themselves, raising themselves. So the child has neither parents. So this is one of the causes of what the child do. I'm raising myself. I can do whatever I want whenever I want to. And then it becomes to the point where the kids lose respect for the mother or the parents that's there. And sometimes a lot of us single parents, we overcompensate for children for not having a dad in the house. Somebody
Mm,
had a hand raised.
yeah. Yes and no. Because my thing is, people nowadays don't family plan, which is the greater issue. Because people no longer sit back and be like, okay, let me date you for a while. Let me figure, are we compatible? Let me figure out, can we grow together? Let me see if we're gonna get married. Nowadays, people just are hyperly sexed, they have children, and then they try to figure out the child thing after they have it instead of pre-planning, which is a disaster within itself. Because what's the saying is that if you fail to plan, that means you plan to fail.
Oh
So
yeah.
so this is like where we're at right now. Um because even like a couple weeks ago, I was telling my students like they deserve better, and they laughing at me like I said something crazy. I'm like, oh, okay, never mind. Maybe I'm a comedian. but but yeah, it's crazy. So when and having the same conversations with some of these students, like 17-year-old has 3 children and been locked up multiple times, and then have the nerve to have the conversation about, oh, I'm going to do better for my children. Okay. And then he's telling me how his dad got life, and how he really didn't grow up with his father. And I'm telling him, and I'm looking at him like, so basically you followed the same footsteps as your dad, and you're like I don't think that you see like the cycle of what's going on here, but in your mind you thinking that you have a game plan and you really don't. Um, but again, the blind leading the blind, because at the end of the day, he don't really have a plan. He have 3 children, 17. So now the mother of his children now have to just depend on himself. I mean herself, and I guess the grandparents or whoever, because he's not going to be part of the equation going moving forward. So um it's mind-boggling, and this is like part of our societal issues where people don't really think for themselves. People are overly emotional because as we talk about childhood traumas, where people want to connect with somebody because of their childhood trauma. So they want somebody that's going to deal with their nonsense without actually getting over their childhood trauma. So they're looking for people who are, what's the thing nowadays that people who have traumatic experiences, they can relate to each other. So now they're connecting with each other just based on that. Oh, oh, somebody's phone going off. So now they're connecting with each other based on um uh, uh experiences and without the growth being part of the equation. So then they have a child, um and after they have the child, then they realize like, oh, we really don't have our stuff together. So now they break up. Father does what he does, mom does what he does. They can't stand each other because of the relationship, and they don't put the child first. So now it's just a continual cycle. So now you have the child who is now most likely going to have the same issue that they had, and then they're going to pass it on because there's no intervention.
Yeah, but this lack of planning, it didn't just start now, because you look at our grandparents. They basically, some of them was in the same boat, but I think it's the change in time that things are different now, and I think everybody's for themselves. And I notice like some of these parents, they ready for their kids to get out of the house, throw them out as a very early age. Whereas during our time when I was younger, you stayed home.
Oh yeah, that's
Especially,
yeah. That, I'm
especially,
sorry. Yeah, that's another issue because I hate to see that. I hate to hear parents say that. Oh, you 18, you're an adult. You can, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, that's mind-boggling. I'm like, first of all, as a single parent, you don't have the resources to help your child out, and then to tell your child, like, listen, once you turn 18, you gotta go. It's like, well, what skills do they have in order to survive in the world? And then when they fail and they don't do certain things, then the parent looks at them like, oh well, you had what opportunities?
right.
Because
And I've heard parents say that.
just
And I
how,
think it's
yeah.
because they think that you're not doing good. So I think a lot of parents I hear say, well, I'm struggling, I'm doing this, I can't take care of your go. Whereas well, I guess if you don't have the knowledge, you can't pass it on. You can't give what you don't know. So it's kind of weird to say for them to do that. It could be also when you talk about the childhood trauma, the parents probably did the same thing to them. So it becomes a repeating cycle. No,
I
so
I think I think you said there's things are different, and I'll tell you why. Every generation, people become smarter but not wiser. And
agreed.
I think where our parents were telling us, do as I say and not as I do, that was not a good enough answer, it was not a good enough analogy. And so the children now are questioning. Steve has his hand up, right? So I'm going to quickly go. So the children are questioning. Oh, you're giving me a thumbs up, thanks. The children are questioning their parents. You cannot be telling me not to steal when you've taken me to the store and stolen in front of me, or hid your stuff in my clothes, or asked me to put it in the stroller for you. You cannot expect me, you cannot tell me to tell the neighbor you're not home, and then you're home. You're teaching them to lie. We're teaching the children all the things they know. Everything they know what to do, we taught them. We teach them at
Correct.
home, we teach them at school, we teach them in the way we behave. So we as adults need to reflect back on what we have done and don't blame the children. We need to find a way to fix it. We need to also start teaching people to use birth control. And we need to start teaching men, our Black men, that birth control is not only a woman's responsibility, but it's yours as well. We are not on a plantation breeding breeding the master plantation. You go here this month, you breed about 15. You go over here next month, you breed about 15. I've seen a rapper talk about he has 36 kids with 13 or 14 different women. I take care of man. How are you going to take care of? I'm a mother of two, and I couldn't even take care of them on my own. How are you taking care of 36 kids on your own? So we need to reflect on how we have behaved and how we continue to behave. And those little minds are watching us and they're learning from us. We did it to them.
Shauna has her hand up.
It's just everything that you just said, Carmen. Children are sponges. They are modeling what they see and hear. They're coming to school doing things that they see their parents, their caretakers, the TV, what they see on YouTube, whatever they see, that's what they're modeling. And it is our responsibility. You know, you have having empathy for a parent that is providing for their child. Do you go to work or do you stay home? You know, do you put a roof over your child's head, food on the table, or are you trying to, you know, make sure they're not online when they should be in the bed, you know? So I get that part of it, but then the parents, they only know what they were taught. So it's just that cycle of, so the question is, how do you help? What can we do to help break cycles? You know, you don't know what you don't know. And until you know better, you can't do better. So if they're not around people or listening to things that can change their thinking, then the cycle will continue to repeat itself. So how do we help those? Because we know better and we're doing better. So how do we help those that don't have the insight that we have?
You know how we could do that, young queen? We could do that by not assigning blame, by not blaming children. You don't blame the victim.
Right.
When I have a 12-year-old student leave school and is fighting for a boyfriend outside the school, I know this is not coming from her. I know this is a behavior that she learned from somewhere, right? So I'm not wasting my time blaming her for it. I'm going to talk to her that it's not worth it. And in 10 years, you're going to look back, you're going to reflect on that, and you're going to realize that you don't own that boy. He's 12 years old. You don't get to fight for a 12-year-old, right? You don't get to fight for anybody. Nobody belongs to you, even if you're married to them. Let them go, right? But we need to teach them that. We need to teach people that. And as a race of people, we need to take accountability for our behavior. We need to start. It's not the devil. It's not society. It's not the white man anymore. It's not the boogeyman. It's the choices you've made, the things you've done, and how do we change that?
But right, and that's what we talk about. We always, Eva, I'll get you in a minute. We always talk about that when we talk here, solutions, because we already know what the problem is. We keep talking about the problem, the problem, the problem. Time we put solutions in place. How can we do this? How can we do that? You know, I was also talking about these mega churches, and people get mad when we make reference to them. It's like, talk what the Bible said about money. Okay, but I listened to TDJ last week. He says, over the pandemic, we were doing very well. We added this section to the church. It cost $1.4 million. And I'm thinking, each time he goes on, mind you, $50 or more. He got his Cash App, PayPal, everything up. What happens if you took a portion of that money and put the sign, say, come and get food for your family, come and do this? What are they doing for these people who support them day in and day out? It's their responsibility to take care of the community. Why do you need a jet? Why do you need 2 private jets? Why do you need 5 luxury cars? And the people in your congregation is suffering. Do they ever call these people and say, what can we do to help you?
They already know what they can do. They already
Correct.
have the money to do it. Why not just do it? Why are we keep constantly talking about I coulda, shoulda, woulda? Just freaking do it already.
Okay, Eva, you have your hand up for what? Eva, Steve, and Eric, in that
That was a
order.
lot. So that kind of like made my thought go woof. Because I was going to comment about the children. Basically, as a false adopted parent, I've seen children that, as everyone was mentioned adopt behaviors of their parent. I had a little 6-year-old for which beautiful kid when you saw him. But when he started, you'd be like, ooh, where that come from? Because he can be like, really like, something like, you'd be like, that's the devil, because he would act up so bad that you just wouldn't believe that something that looked that beautiful would behave or say the things that he said. But he said that, because I'll sit him down, and I believe that no matter how old you are, that you can always have a conversation with a child, and I know that they understand what you're saying because they're very receptive and intelligent, so I don't believe in baby talking children. So I said to him, so why are you behaving this way? I said, don't you know you make people not want to be bothered with you, and you can't get a job to take care of yourself. You can't do anything for yourself. You can't even protect yourself if they don't want it to hurt you. So why do you think you can act like this? He said, I get it from my dad. Just how we doing in the hood. I said, okay, that might be how your dad is behaving, but your dad is an adult and you're just 6 years old. I said, so if somebody was to grab you by your neck and hang you in the corner, what can you do? I'll fight back. I said, you can't. You're too weak. You cannot be an adult. I said, so please, please stop behaving like this because I don't want to see you in a shelter because what happened in foster care, you get too bad and no one want to take you into their home. They send you to a shelter. They send you to a group home. And he's such a sweet kid that God just had me like cover him in prayer and just try to reason with him to try to have him, get a better perspective of the things that he was doing. But it got to the point where he lied so much that I was like, I can't have him taking my license. I was like, he's gonna have to go. And it's sad because it hurts because I did not want to. I almost felt like, I'm like, okay, God, I'm not giving up on him. But you still have to use reason, and God said to use wisdom. This little kid would say that you hit him. And then when you sit him down, he was like, I lied. She didn't do that. And I'm like, you can't afford to put yourself in a situation. So yes, it's environment. But I would hope that with most of us, because we all can pretty much say we lived in some areas that may have been rougher than others. And that did not affect how we turn out. So I would pray that there's still hope for them and that everybody keep trying to encourage them and just do what we're doing and trying to reach them, and that some things will stick. Like you say about the word, you plant it and let somebody come around and water it. So that's how I feel about the kids today, that if everybody just continue to feed into them and try to reach them, that some things you may think they're not listening, but they do listen, because I've had people come back and say, you didn't think I was listening, but I remember when you told me this and you told me that, so I would just say everybody stay encouraged and don't let it discourage you. And Eric, doing what you're doing a great job. And I know what you're doing is rough. I have too many friends that are doing what you're doing. And I tell them, God bless you, because that's like going back to law enforcement. But anyway, I'm just saying, just stay encouraged, keep doing what you're doing. As I said, this is an excellent format and platform that you're providing here. But the only sad thing about platforms with people, I don't want to just say of color, but I will say that because we are predominantly Black here, that they don't take advantage of it. And it's a lot of good information that they can really get if they just took the time to invest in themselves and just take the time to listen to hear what somebody else have to say. So thank you again, Miss Spice Lady, for doing this, Spice Queen, and everybody else that's participating here, because I feel that we all are here. We're mature enough. We all seem to have education, educational background. We are people of some, literacy. So we know what we need to do, but it's those people that need this that's not here. And you were saying, how do you reach them? And that's always the hard part, because if you're not giving away something, then they really don't want to show up. But if you was telling them, okay, come, you're going to win some free this or free that, then, they'll show up. But then if you're not putting value into yourself, and that's going back to learned behaviors and things like that, the pants down. Someone said they, Ms. Carmen, I think as you were saying that you was asking a person about their pants. They don't know where that came from. That's that jailhouse stuff, and if you really broke it down to them what that means, they should be ashamed to want to do that. They don't know where that came from. with the pants down, what signal you sending, you know? So they think it's
Okay.
a cool, tough thing, but it's not. So, I just wanted to say thank you guys for, just having a voice and for sharing that. And so we do hope to reach other people, but in terms of church and what they do, I believe that, as you say, we have some people in ministry that may abuse it, but I do know that they do good, although they may be talking about all the things that they have and what they have. And that sometimes I feel a little uncomfortable because God didn't say we had to be poor, broken, busted. But however,
True.
you got some that talk about a little too much when we have some people out here suffering. So yes, it's how you do things and you paint the picture, and sometimes may be a negative one for people that have faith in church, but then looking at you talking about your airplanes and your cars. So when they
Correct.
don't,
Even if,
And right.
even if
And we're
they
not
don't,
saying
even
we're
if
not
they,
no,
saying that
sorry,
they
Bev.
should not have the things
no,
that they have acquired, because some of it is not, we know they I
right,
know very well they do other things. They write
right,
book, they do
right.
lectures, they do that. However, especially for me during this pandemic, and they know a lot of people are suffering, and you're telling me I spend $1.4 million and you should see the place. You look like Hollywood theater, the green lights, the stage, to this. And I'm saying, you have hungry people. Why do people need to come to church for that? You understand what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at with that. And Steve, I know you're next, but
That's true.
Eva, as you were talking about the people, we have that conversation all the time. In the beginning, our conversation, this place was loaded because we
I
talked about
remember because I
toxic
came on
masculinity.
in the
We
past.
talk
I came
about
on in
this.
the past.
So when we talk about vice, they come on,
Mm-hmm.
because that is where they at. If you give them educational things, then they don't want no part of it. Like in 2 weeks, oh, on the 27th, Mr. Husband's it's tax season. He's a tax accountant. Watch what's gonna happen. They don't want to hear that, because he's giving them viable information
Most
that
of them
would
filing
improve
tax. Like,
their
I'm
life.
just doing a joke.
Right. So
I'm
he's a
sorry.
tax man.
No, I'm just saying, most of them filing taxes. Like, I'm only joking.
Right, right. So
Get in
the
where you
other
fit. We
thing
want to have that, you know.
Okay, the
But
other
this is
thing when you talked about the kids, and only
mm-hmm.
because I'm in the environment
Mm-hmm.
where kids do come from the youth house and all of that, and you talk about that 6-year-old, I'm thinking how many people have sent him back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you said his behavior
But
came from
but
his dad. No, no, no.
but it was blessed because that was his first time. This is his first time out, and he got to be with
This is
me
first
for his
time.
first time.
Okay,
So
so
gratefully
what,
that's
right. So, okay, so this is his first time.
it.
The next person is going to be his second and his third. That child is going to feel the abandonment. Like,
Yes.
even though his behavior is this. So I think each time he feels abandoned, he goes back to the behavior of the dad because he sees his dad as being that tough man. Or my dad is this. So, okay, you abandoned me. Maybe I should be more like my dad. My dad is right. So each time the behavior gets worse
But may
until
I
you know
add
where he's going
this?
to end up.
May I
And not
add
just
this?
him,
Mhm.
kids like him.
But the bad part about his actions is that he was made to believe if he behaved this way, he would be able to go home sooner. And I told him, no, sweetie, your parents told you a lie. You will not be going back home quicker by behaving this way. You're going to be going to a group home because no one's going to want you in their home. So his parents was telling him to act up because he had an opportunity to go also and live with a sibling, but his dad didn't want him to go with them because it wasn't his father.
Okay. Okay.
So
So,
just crazy
so,
stuff.
so Eva, think about that. The
Mhm.
way I'm viewing this right
No,
now,
you're right. You're
no,
right.
no, the way I'm viewing this right now, the father know the repercussions of his behavior. But if you keep telling him that, that means in my mind, the dad don't want him back home because if he's going to tell him to act that way, I
Yep.
don't want you back. And the more you act up, the further away you're going to go. That's how I
Yep.
view that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
I'm
And
just
that's
saying.
sad. No, you're right. But the other sad part is that piggybacking on what you said, is that you don't want to see your child succeed. You know, it's like you really want your child to be hurt because he has siblings from a different dad. And when they came to pick up the other daughter and son, who was also with me, they was willing to take the 6. And the 6-year-old dad said, I don't want him to go with them. I was like, what? You know, so it's sad, but that's what we deal with in society. You know, you have people that just don't care, and that's sad. Because I would say, yeah, take my
Correct.
child, because I want my child to be with his siblings, you know, so that I know that he's safe and he's
Correct.
with family. But he didn't feel that
Correct.
way. He was selfish and negative, saying, no, let him, no, I don't want you
Right.
to take him. I was like, wow.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Steve and then Eric. Sir.
Yeah, I was reflecting back to when I was a kid, and how I came here is because I never was a follower. I don't believe in following people, and I stuck with that all through my life. If I'm in a group and they want to smoke marijuana, well, you smoke your marijuana, but I'm not doing it. So I would leave that. I would leave that situation. I never went follow under peer pressure. So, and I tell the kids that I adopt the same thing, because they like to follow the kids at school. They smoking the hookah and they coming to school high and stuff. I tell them what they could do and get away with, maybe you wouldn't. You might end up in jail. So I grew up with pressure also, but I didn't give in to that pressure. And I tried to teach them all the time. And so far, none of the kids that I had ever was removed from my home, you know. All of them stayed on until some got older, some are still here, you know, but I tried to teach them the right things. Don't fall for this flashy stuff. If you see a kid with an iPhone 13, that doesn't mean that you have to get an iPhone 13, you know, because they might have an iPhone 13, but when they get home, there might not be no food on the table. So I try to teach them
Okay. Right.
there are needs. Know the difference. Know the difference.
Correct.
It's a constant struggle, but I try, you know, and so far it's working. 2 of the kids I had, they at least went back home to their parents, but then they came back into the system again and they came right back to my home, you know. And even the little girl I adopted last, she was with her, she went back to her mom in New York, and then her mom found us down here in Georgia and brought her back to us, give her to us. Unfortunately, mother died like 2 years ago, but so, you know, we had to do what we had to do to, you know, keep her happy and
Right.
everything. Up to her, and everything is good.
Yeah. Kudos to you.
She listens to us, so, you know,
Right.
that's how it goes. But some people just use excuses for everything. Everything's,
Right. Right.
and I
And
don't
that's
believe it,
exactly
because the way I look at it, if I get into trouble, it doesn't only affect me, affect everybody in the family. Everything
correct.
changes
Correct.
for the worse. Most time it's changed for the worse. So I try to keep everybody in line and show them the consequences and repercussions for your behavior, you know? And that's why I try to teach them all the time. So I try.
Exactly. Hey, kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
Eric, you had your hand up before.
Oh, no. I forgot I gotta go in the thing and put my hand down.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, because it stays up there. I don't know why it does that.
I don't know.
I'll
It
say,
is.
Oh,
can I
okay.
say something?
Of course you may.
This is like the your Zoom experience. I remember you when you started. It's like uncomfortable, and this is good. This is good. Now, here's an example of like the brother just said about struggling. It's constant. It'll never stop. And one thing I learned about, like we're talking about sex a little bit and all that kind of stuff. One example I've learned years ago was was when you're having sex, intercourse. All right, and then there's in order for a human being to be developed, you need an egg, and you need sperm. Sperm comes from the male, the egg delivered by the woman. So when procreation happens, when this happens, all the sperm that the gentleman has in his testes comes out, and there's millions, billions of sperm that are fighting to find this egg, to make this zygote, for those who know biology. All right, so I've majored in biology. But anyway, so there's billions of sperm, and everybody's fighting because they want to get this prize. And the prize is hitting this egg. Once it gets that egg, that's it. We have a species, a human embryo growing alive in the woman's body. This is a miracle. This is a miracle. So but the point I want to make is life is a struggle. In order to receive life, you have to struggle. There's no life without struggle. And the same thing what the women were saying and the men were saying in different ways. This is just another example about struggle. You never give up. Never give up. If we had given up, we wouldn't even be in the position where we are today. So anybody that tries to take our knowledge away from us, heck with them. Continue to struggle. Struggle is inevitable. And that instance of the sperm and the egg, that's a struggle. Those sperm, one of them is an only one is going to hit that egg. 90% of the time, the only one. And all the rest of them die. So they're struggling to find life. That's what we have to do. When I'm on Facebook, and I'll finish, when I'm on Facebook and I go on Facebook for education to learn and business like you do. So every time I see something there that's negative or something happened, and there's millions of things, we all see it every day. But I always put in my edifice, the struggle continues. Struggle continues. You gotta continue. Never give up.
Maybe I should start putting that on, and Facebook wouldn't ban me. But sometimes I can't help myself. When I see they go in on us, I can't help myself. But I'm trying. That's my goal for this, but I just can't help myself. But anyway, but you're absolutely right. And if we don't struggle, we don't learn. And then, like I said earlier in the beginning, struggle is not failure. When we fail, we have not truly failed. We're learning. It's experience. Imagine if everything was even keel, there would be nothing to learn. So we use those experience, and no matter how large or how small, the key is we need to reward ourselves for our small accomplishments.
Like the
You know,
gentleman
you make
said, he said he keeps on keeping on with these people. And that's what you got to do. You're gonna have people that's not gonna want you, but you don't stop, because everybody's not gonna get to the prize. Everybody's not gonna get there. And that's how life is made. Everybody's not gonna get there, but don't give up. If our foreparents gave up 400, 500 years ago, we wouldn't be here. They died for us. They never gave up. So we have to keep that in memory and teach our kids. We have to teach the kids that, whether they want to hear it or not. Because like she said, like I think Carmen said, one of them is going to hear it. Two of them is going to hear it. Three of them is going to hear it. We're not looking to get a whole lot, but just pass this word out. Keep it going. Keep the struggle alive.
Right, correct. Because I remember, as a kid, My dad used to, I mean, every time he see us, and I think it was a ritual, he used to almost get us every weekend. We used to look at it as torture because he used to tell us the same stories over and over and over. Between that and having us sitting down and read and doing math, we'd be crying. And, old Caribbean style, he'd have that belt right there. And we would be crying. But the stories that he keep telling us is where I came from to now. I mean, I look at myself from 5, 6 years old. We had to go milk cow, goat, wash clothes in the river, do all, and my father continuously telling the story. We in America, we don't want to hear that, because I left there, Grenada, to come to America, I was like, oh wow, kids don't do that in America. All they do is go to school, and if the parents have them clean the house or wash the dishes, do anything, they were lucky. All they did was watch TV, at least where I was. And he's telling us this story repeatedly. And then funny, after my kids, like my daughter could tell the story now, not only was he telling us, he was telling them. Eric doesn't remember because he was younger, but my daughter's telling him. And now, funny thing, she's telling her kids those stories. And the little kids would say, well, we don't do that anymore. They can't even associate with these things. But as they get older, they probably are going to pass the stories on, because to some people, it may not seem like nothing, but it's a legacy from then to now. So it makes them appreciate certain things because in their mind, oh, wow, look at all the things that my mom did and my grandparents did, and now I'm here and I don't have to do these things.
Maybe
So,
because maybe and Beb, the thing about it is whether we like it or not, even today I had to talk to my students about Martin Luther King. And I'm like, I know he's like an icon for most people, but that man died in complete vain. When I said that man died in complete vain, I mean it. Not a law was changed to change the plight of African Americans. Nothing was implemented. That was a wasted life and a wasted death, in my opinion. And
right. But
so, and so what we have to think about as Black folks, listen, I'm not about chasing my tail. I know what the problem is already. I'm about trying to find a solution. Let's find a solution. Let's how we are living is unsustainable. It's
correct,
ineffective, it's unsustainable. We need to do something different because it's
right.
not working.
But for MLK, why you think white people love him so much? Because they never finished knowing his history. Because what happened to him? As soon as he had a changed mind, they got rid of him.
Exactly.
And they don't talk about that, right?
Exactly.
Because you notice, oh, nonviolence. If you listen to white folks, that's all they talk about, the nonviolence. He did this without this, he did this without that. They never really look and research what caused his demise.
And they romanticize him now. But
Correct,
during the time, he was an enigma, right? Right? He was a problem. So I'm not
correct,
into the falsehood. I'm not into the hero worshiping or false prophet. I'm not interested, right?
correct.
What are we? I'm saying we need to start reflecting and changing our behavior, so our children could learn something different.
Right. And because we're educators and we're in that environment, we're not going to save all, as we know, but if we keep putting that bug in these children's ears and, telling them what's going to happen if they don't change their behavior, what the end result's going to be, if you're repeatedly telling them that, one or two is going to get it. Because for example, I have this one kid. My kids that I deal with his behavior. Those are the kids that would tell you words that you just didn't even know exist, and they would try to fight you. Before the pandemic, this one kid, he always, I mean, he used to tell me off and want to hit me. But I didn't give up on him this year. When I no before that, when I tell him things, you know what he says to me? Oh, you just like my mom. Oh, my mom said that. When I see him with certain food, I was like, oh, we got this in my country. So he kind of like gravitated into that. This year, this is the best kid ever. He's stuck onto me like glue. He tells me everything that his mother does, and he's the best behaved kid right now. I'm always willing to learn.
And and
So,
and and what you have to do, what you should do, my suggestion is to work with that kid and keep working with that kid, and that'll spread. That's how it works. You're not going to get all the kids, as Eric and you teachers and Sean you know. You're not going to get them
right,
all. You're not
right,
going to. But those who want something, work with them, keep
right,
with them, stay with them, and that
right.
and it will spread. That's how we made progress in this country. That's how we did it. We never got the majority. It was the minority of us that fought, and the majority was afraid, or they were bamboozled, or whatever you want to call it. But it was always the minority, and then it picked and picked and picked until like today. It is 2022, and we're still working hard at getting in freedom for ourselves. So it's a struggle.
It
Yeah.
But
is, it
but
is.
but we're here, we're here, and we're gonna continue to be.
Correct, correct. And we just gotta, it's just like marketing and sales, right? You gotta
Yeah,
keep going. Eventually, you're gonna add one more.
yeah.
And we're gonna make that difference,
Right.
whether,
And
they come on.
we usually have this discussion, right? About should, like prodding on. 4 persons, 2 people, 3 people, eventually, even if you touch the life of one person, that's fine. That person would deliver the message and bring like a
Correct.
vein, right? Taking the message from one part of the world to another, and that's okay. Um, but what we cannot continue to do is, live how we're living. And churches, in my opinion, to piggyback off of what you said and to reiterate, I believe most of our pastors should be ashamed of themselves. And the reason why I say that they should be ashamed of themselves, they're actually using the institution of the enslaver to continue to financially enslave their own people. If you remember, the master he was the pastor. So during the week, he raped, he beat, he cheated, he did all his dirt. And on Sunday mornings, he went to preach to the people he enslaved. And he collected from them the tiny little bit that they paid them, the pennies that they paid them, he collected it from them so they could not buy their freedom. And the monies that were collected in the church is supposed to be spent on the poor and the widowed, not to be hoarded and not to be used for people's own devices. Our people, that's what's ailing our community as well. One of the many things that's ailing our communities.
Correct, true. Absolutely. Absolutely. Like we said, the bottom line is solutions. We keep going in circle about the things that's happening, and the change only begins with us, has to with us. Um, and as we very well know, as Black people, the only way we can change the way we live is our dollars. If we go back to our ancestors and watch the way they move, protest is all well and good, but how is that working? I mean, things have changed a little, but really and truly, how is it working?
Hasn't changed, Bev. No laws. Show me one law that has
Look
been
how fast
changed
the
for
Asian,
protests.
look how fast the Asian get the laws on the book to
Thank
protect
you.
them. We've
Name
been fighting
one laws.
400 years
Correct.
to get something that's just directed towards Black people.
And
When they
hand it
include things
constantly.
that we are the beneficiary of certain things, but it's not for us.
Right? Name
Right?
one law that was changed.
None.
Not one. What we need to start doing is making our money become valuable to us. Keep our money.
The
Don't
only thing
spend
we should be
everything.
doing is going to the supermarket and buying gas. That's all we need to do right now.
Thank you.
And anything else is a Black person that's making it.
Save your money.
And actually, if the pandemic did teach us one thing, is that all these things that we acquire, we don't need it.
Facts.
Right?
Correct.
So this is what we need. How do we get there? Farrakhan been preaching that forever, right? Most people don't like him, but he's the honest messenger.
Well,
He speaks
it's gonna
truth.
take it's gonna take a minute. It's gonna take a minute,
How many
but
more minutes?
it's gonna
We're
it's gonna take
tired.
well because I was
Facts,
talking
Bev.
to my brother the other day, and you know, our condition when we were enslaved hundreds of years ago, the job that these people put on us was terrific, and it worked. Not only physical but mental, and mental is hard enough to crack. And so all these years, wherever we from Africa, wherever they brought us, to the Caribbean, to South America, to India, to China, all over the world, their job was to make sure that we had nothing. That was their job. It was their job. We were nothing in essence. So when we in Jamaica and Haiti and Barbados and Guyana, all these different countries were taken over by different people in Europe, French, British, Dutch, all of them. But they when we came here, then we came here in the 1600s. Or actually, we were here before that, but as slaves, they did a job. They made sure that we knew nothing, that all of our history was gone. They made sure of that. And from what 1619, free to say, to Civil War, 1861, 65, quote unquote, free. We weren't, not really. And then after that, we were still in mental slavery. We weren't really free. So we were Jim Crow, all these different laws by these people, Jim Crow, voting, all this stuff. So it's been hundreds of years since we really had our hands untied. And still today we're struggling with it.
No, it's not 100 of years. It's not 100 of years. Maybe 50 years if we're lucky. If we're lucky. Brown
Right.
versus the Board of Education, 1963, they're still killing our leaders. So it hasn't been hundreds of years, not even 100 years. So, and we're still feeling the effect. I placed something in the chat and it's called Africans in America, and with about the psychological brainwashing that took place, that the enslavers did to African Americans, Caribbean people, people from South America. If you guys are interested, later on you can click on it and watch it. It's very interesting, and you begin to understand the why, not just the how, but the why.
Well, for those of us, some say it's incorrect information, but if you read the Willie Lynch letter, it specifically stated out how they got us where we are.
Correct.
So my thing is, if I know how you took this apart, why can't we put it back together? You
Because
know what I'm
not enough
saying?
of us have the
It's,
information on the how, right? We need to know the how, and then we need to have people who are willing to work and stop acting like they're comatose.
yeah, because it states out how they turned us women against our men, right? And how we, the children. It specifically stated all of those. So why can't we reverse this?
And Bev, it's not only that they turn the women against the men.
Well,
Black men are not finding our with us attractive.
well,
So
no,
don't
well,
forget
that's a
that.
listen. That's a
Don't
whole
forget
nother
that.
topic. That's why we're
Okay.
not even gonna touch that tonight. We're not even gonna
Well,
go
guess
there.
what?
We're just
Well,
going
guess
into
what?
that
When you say
specific right
one,
now.
you have to say two.
No,
A
no, no, no,
lot.
no, 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 no. No. I'm just stating that in fact for this particular right now. When we get into that next, then we'll deal with that. You know, I
Yeah.
would just say because that Willie Lynch letter basically talked about the woman, right? So that's why I'm saying it. But we know it's far more than that. You know, it's far more than that. But guess what? Black History Month is coming. Okay, so
The shortest month in the year, and 1 week of vacation. So it's not really even a celebration, and it's not look.
okay.
Well,
You know,
the-
I just
Wait.
want to say that I did have that opportunity to read the letter, and I was, in a sense, I was shocked. It was almost like Black people were treated like animals, the way breaking them down, turning them against each other. One man with this strategy as to how to tame the Black person. It was really outrageous, and for someone to have that deep thought pattern as to how we can keep a race under control so that they can continue to do what we want them to do and not believe that there's something more, that you can have more. It's just like when some people were, not some, but they were released from slavery, how all they knew is how to be a slave. They didn't see that they could be more. It's just like too when I found out that Central Park used to be Black Mecca, filled
Yes.
with Black-owned businesses, thriving, living the life.
Yeah.
How some of it was brought for dimes, but a lot of it was stolen because a group of people decided that we need outdoor entertainment for our families. Let's create this big, huge park.
Correct.
Because sometimes people
Facts, no
believe Black
caps.
history began, I don't know, 1,000 years ago, but Black history began more than 1,000 years ago. But the
Correct.
history books start there. They don't go
Correct.
deeper.
The conquerors tells the story, ma'am.
Right. It's like the children of Israel, right? If you
No, we
have
know who
that
they are.
mindset, that mentality, what happens? You stay right there. For example, look at the people, a lot of people who've been incarcerated for a long period of time. What do? The minute they come out, they do something to go right back, right?
Facts.
They program that way. Woo, guys,
And
this
that's a key
was
word. You said program. People are
correct.
programmed to believe that Girl Scout Troop 2020 is the best in New Jersey. You're programmed to believe that the Catholic religion is the religion, that we are the best. It's about being programmed all over the
Yeah.
world, no matter what it is.
No matter where we go, they
Even if it's an illusion, a mirage, counterfeit.
Okay. All right, who has the hand raised? Steve, it's
Yeah.
10 o'clock.
Hello.
Yes,
Yeah,
go ahead, Steve.
I was just thinking, and I said, you even only have to even look at the Section 8 program. The family falls on hard times. For them to get money for the apartment, the husband cannot live with the wife. The woman have to live separate, so that's breaking up the family.
Correct.
So that's another
Divide
way
and
to
conquer.
check also. Yeah, as soon as they find out that the man is even coming around to just sleep, it's canceled.
But
Correct.
only in the Black community, though.
Right.
Correct.
And here's how we could stop that, Steve. Stop being dependent on the oppressor.
We don't have these problems.
Yeah. Yeah, because now what Black women is the only group of women that's saying, I'm good, I don't need a man. Right?
What is it?
So brainwashed. Okay, guys. All
But
right. We did our
remember,
okay.
and I'm going to leave with this. Listen to all phases of knowledge. So, you know, there's another, like I think Carmen said with this brainwashing stuff, you know, that's another problem, quote unquote, Black people have. You know, we're only Black because that's another term that started in the 60s, really, with Black power and stuff like that. You know, we're really a human race. You know, we have melanin, we're dark skinned, and that's about it. You know, the different languages are because we're different parts of the world. That's all that is. But we got to remember we're all from the same origin. All of us, you know. And so just remember that, and remember, and like we're doing tonight, we're listening to everybody's testimony. Michael, Steve, I mean, Roxy, I mean, it's good that we all speak and we learn. That's what it's about. Learning, not criticizing, just learning. You never know. It's the only way it works. I'm gonna shut up. Go ahead.
No, information. Appreciate you. Okay, so we passed 10 o'clock. I try not to go over the 2 hours. I know everybody has work tomorrow. So on our next Zoom is going to be Thursday, January 27th. And like I said, Mr. Husbands is going to come and give us some tips about taxes and share some information. I'm sure from last year to this year, a lot of things have changed, with the taxes. So again, I
That's another
appreciate you
ripoff
guys.
again.
I appreciate each and every one of you. Without you, there's no us. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you
Thank
also.
you. Take care.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night,
Bye.
everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.